The problem was I was the one being put in front to negotiate this deal, and I'd never negotiated anything like this before, and it was not a friendly experience. I turned out to be the real asshole, and I didn't mean to be the asshole. So as I mentioned in my MTV story from years back, the moral of the story was to not accept rush jobs. And then I was commenting, but that's the entire film industry is a rush job, and there's people that deal with that every day. I had my chance to see this up front and personal, and when John Hughes was remaking Miracle on 34th Street. My loft at the time became Bellevue Hospital, and I had Santa Claus in my house at the same time. This was quite an experience. The whole story started with the location scout. Somehow or another, a guy came to our loft, and the owner of the building, Ken, he sent them up. He said, well, why don't you just go talk to the guys? They're the ones that have the second floor. The location scout came up, and he really liked the space, and he said, well, here's what it's for. It's for this movie, yada, yada, yada. And I said, oh, fine, we're open-minded to that. So he said, well, we're going to schedule you for the approval tour or whatever it's called. And that's where they spend the day driving around. They rent a fancy bus and they drive from one location to the other. It's about 16 or 17 people. And I remember when they knocked on the door, I saw the bus outside. All these people started pouring in the door. And there's people with lenses around their neck, and they immediately start doing this and talking off. I felt so important, but I was nobody. And so they do their thing, and they're in and out in like 30 minutes on to the next thing. It was big, serious business. Location scout comes back and says, well, they're interested in renting your space. Let's talk about terms. And at the time, my buddy was a house painter, and so I was trying to negotiate in things for everybody. The problem was I was the one being put in front to negotiate this deal, and I'd never negotiated anything like this before, and it was not a friendly experience. I turned out to be the real asshole, and I didn't mean to be the asshole. The location guy gave my buddy the ability to paint the set, to pre-paint it, like certain things. They agreed to the prices that we had. Let me back up. There's a process involved beforehand. Before we had signed the contracts, they parked equipment in front of my building. And I'm like, why you guys got scissor jacks out there? We don't have a signed document. And the guys came up with blueprints. And I'm thinking, these guys got blueprints already? I'm thinking, what are they doing? They don't have a signed contract, I wasn't the type who was going to take them over the barrel. I probably could have. I accidentally took them over the barrel when I said, our fourth guy wants a piece of this. And the location guy was like, fourth guy? He told me there was three of you. And I was like, well, you see that corner over there? There's a guy that rents that studio there, and he's a real prick, and he wants $1,000 for his share. He's like, Mike, just tell me what it costs. He said, no number you can give me right now will equal the problems you're going to cause. He's like, we've had this set built. He's like, I just got to tell you. He's like, you sound like the kind of guy who doesn't want to cause, I'm like, dude, I didn't mean to cause this problem. So we got that signed right there. They gave a deposit. I think we charged, and this was a long time ago, $1,500 a day for every day that they were there preparing the set, $5,000 a day for the shoot day, and my buddy got some painting out of it, and I negotiated our ability to be in the space when they were filming. Negotiation is something that I don't think I even knew what the word meant. I really didn't. I always thought that I was just calculating a price based on the amount of time and material something took. I did not understand that there was another value to a project based on the solution that I was providing, and that there's a solution price, not just a work price. If somebody wants a solution, they're not looking at how many hours it takes for you. They're looking at, if I paid $10,000 for this, but I'm getting $100,000 in value, they'll pay up to $50,000 and be fine with it. The thing about negotiation is to be able to see into their world what your value of solution is, and then negotiation can really take place. I was a terrible negotiator for my entire business career. Absolutely. Because I loved what I was doing. I felt a connection with everybody. I was so pleased that they would ask me to do a job. I was like the happy puppy. Oh, I've never done that. Let me restore that monument. Oh, I've never done that. Let me use that skyjack. Out of art school at 23, on my own, I made $150,000, 28 years ago. I thought I was doing great, and probably it could have been a lot more because I gave away every single job that I did. And I worked every single hour of the day, all weekends. I slept and then I worked. It was the zone. But I thought I was doing much better than any other artist that I knew. I bought a car. I bought a car phone when car phones weren't popular. I thought I was killed. I had a ballroom, bought out my roommates because we can get along. I rented to a stripper. Oh, you should hear that story. That's crazy. Everything went well. Everything that my buddy painted, they just painted over. They came in, they built this long hallway, put in water fountains and things like this, and built a cell. And that cell had removable walls. So when they filmed this way, this wall came off, and I moved this wall. But before that, they took out a one of our big windows, and they took all of our furniture and just put it out and took it to a warehouse and emptied our space. And I'm like, well, I hope it comes back, you know, because dang it. So the day of the film, it was fantastic. It was not a pretty set, but they came by, people looking at it, and they were doing the shots, and they looked out the window one time, and from one window you could see a tree, and they're like, go buy that tree. What they needed to do was to take all the leaves off of it because it was a winter shot. And then the sign of the mini mall, it was there, they had to rent that sign because they had to cover it to put a Bellevue sign on it. So all those shops got paid for lost business. I'm like, how do you be in this business? And no wonder they have studios, because you got to deal with all these assholes. Like I was an accidental asshole. But what happened then is on the shoot day, all these trucks show up, generator trucks, police blocking traffic, lights, stuff, scissor jet, lights outside the building. It was fantastic. It was so romantic. I remember the actors showed up. I can't remember their names. Santa Claus did Jurassic Park guy. He was great. And then Dylan McDermott, I think his name was. And the scene was where Dylan's talking to Santa Claus in jail. He's like, come on, Santa, you can do it. You can, some pep talk or something like that. But I remember before the scene started filming, they had the set, like where you're sitting, and the director was in one chair, the assistant director is there, there's monitors in front, I'm standing behind the director, and there's someone standing next to me. And just before they shoot, the director leans over to this person picks up a radio, they radio the person standing next to me, and the person next to me says, could you please stand back? The director would ask that you be over it. And I'm like, I am not loved. In this moment, I am not loved. But it went well. They finished in a day, and then they packed up everything. The entire set came down, and it went to storage in case they had to film something at a loss. And then we'd received our prepayment, but they had also given me the equal amount of what it's like, I don't know, $15,000 or $20,000 at the time, which was the biggest deal I'd ever had at that time. And they had a deposit equally the same size, and they didn't ask for the deposit check back. Weeks and weeks were going by, and I'm a starving artist, and I have this check for $20,000 in my drawer, and I call the guy, and I'm like, you know, I still have your deposit check here. He's like, oh, it's like I forgot about that. I gave him their money back. It wasn't mine. But I didn't realize until much later in business that it wouldn't have mattered, because that check was one of 100,000 checks, and the person on the other side just matches. That check was written, that check was cashed. I didn't want to steal it from them, but I just didn't recognize big business was a whole different beast. I was so excited to be a part of something bigger than I was that I had just deer in the headlights. But I did realize that that industry would be one that I would never participate in. All the contractors that came in, the carpenters and the painters, they looked at least 15 or 18 years older than they actually were. I bonded with them. They had mold makers, they had set guys, and we were chatting, and I was just like, oh my God, you look 100 years old. Sleepless months. It was all new to me. So the moral of the story is, no matter how big they are, no matter how small you are, integrity is deserved between both parties. I was honest with them, they were honest with me. We both did what we were asked each other to do. It's not worth it to try to game something or win big, I don't think. I thought that it would lead to another opportunity, even though it didn't. That experience stayed with me for a long time. And I had more social cachet out of talking about it and showing my friends and family the pictures. And then when the movie came out, we're there for 30 seconds, it was fantastic. If you have the chance to work with a big film company, I would say do it. Most of the people there are absolute pros, and they are just there to get the shot. Just get out of their way, let them get the shot, and go enjoy your popcorn when the movie comes out.
You wanna know something? Ain't no thug. And if he wants to call himself Santa Claus,
Hello, Mr. Bashford.
a friend in need.